I wanted to create a video so that you could reference how to use Google Forms to do primary research in our classes. You should have been given a handout to go along with this so that you can make notes and points that I will be hitting on as I take you through the tutorial. The first thing that you want to do is access Google Forms. You can do that in a number of ways, typing in forms.google.com. I like to go through Drive so that it attaches itself to either Classroom, or I can put it in a folder, whatever it may be. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Google Drive, click on New. I don't see it automatically at first, so I have to find it in More, and there it is, Google Forms. If you can't find it, go to Connect More Apps and you should be able to find it. When I'm in Google Forms, there's a number of things that will show up and I just want to bring your attention to. The first one is this. If you are only going to be submitting your form, your survey, to those with an apps account, then leave that clicked on. If you're going to be putting it out on Twitter or Facebook and you want teenagers to answer your questions for this specific assignment, and they may not be within our school board district, then you want to click that off. Okay, I highly recommend that you take it off because not everyone will be doing their apps account in order to see it. So in terms of the other things that you can examine before we get into creating the form, showing progress at the bottom of the form pages, they know how much further they have to go. It's not a bad option. Allowing only one response per person requires a login. May not be a great choice, but if you want one response per person so that somebody doesn't keep going into your Twitter account and answering your survey, might be a good situation. As well as shuffling question order. Sometimes when people are doing them side by side, they can compare questions. If you shuffle up the order, it confuses them a bit. Never a bad option. So those are the three that I'm going to go with. The next thing that you want to do, because you're working with a group, is go to Send Form. Now we haven't created anything, so what we want to do is we want to add our collaborators. So you're working together as a group, you can edit, you can work together. You don't have to sit on one computer while one person types in, and you simply have to enter in here who it is that you're sending it to so that they can contribute to it. As well as adding collaborators that they can be a part of it. So adding in their name so that you can all work together. Okay, so all of these things need to be done before you actually start working on it. So once I've got my collaborators added in through Send Form, there's a number of things you can go in any which direction. I like to start with the title. So just so that we know what the title is, remember it has to relate to your theme, your topic, whatever it may be. It can be creative. Mine was entertainment and forms of entertainment. So I might say teenagers and entertainment. Very creative. I can even click up here and it will automatically make it the title so that you can find it in your Google Drive and that you know exactly what it is. When you were given a handout for what should be in a survey, one of the things that you need to do is identify a paragraph, an introduction, and it outlined in that slideshow handout that you need to introduce who you are as people, what the class is, what the purpose of the survey is, and a number of other things that go in there. I can provide examples on Google Classroom of what this looks like, but you can go through the bullet points on that slideshow handout that I did give you, and I'll put that on Google Classroom as well. Here's a great place to put in your research question. The other thing that you might want to identify is when it needs to be completed by. So that they know when they need to finish it by. So here we have an opportunity to create some background information, so we can create our questions here. So some things in terms of what we're asking them to do. So question title is the question that you're asking them to do. And I'm going to say gender, help text. Please select which gender best fits your identity. One of the journeys that I have been on while doing social science classes is the idea of transgender issues, the idea that not everyone identifies as male or female, that there are individuals who don't identify as either, and that we want to give them options or choices. So when we look at question types, this is just background information. This is not going to lead us to any particular answer. The reason we want background information is because we want to make sure that if we want to break down males versus females, or grade 9s versus grade 12s and how they entertain themselves, or do a comparison or a contrast, whatever it may be, that we want to make sure that we have questions like this that can divide up those answers for us. We have lots of different types of questions that we can ask. In this case, checkboxes often mean we want either checkbox or multiple choice. Those are the options that we're giving them. Checkboxes allow for more than one answer. Multiple choice means pick one answer. Go to page based on answer. So sometimes if you want them to go to a different question based on how they answer that, you can click that as an option. For us right now, that's not what we're looking for. And again, giving options. In many of your questions, what you could do is provide an opportunity where they don't have a response, or that one of the options does not fit them, or that you can put other and then they have an opportunity. If you want to click on something like that, other, and then they can enter in what their option is. So that might even be another option. If you didn't want just other, that they actually have what other actually means. So when I'm clicked, you can ask whether or not it's a required question. Done. There, I've moved on. So after it looks like it's done, but we want to add an item. So you have to answer what type of question you want each time that you go through. So if the next one I wanted to go into, possibly choose from a list. Things that they would go and do, things that they would want to entertain themselves, going to a restaurant, going to the movies, using electronic technology, whatever it may be. That could be my next question. So I've covered how to enter in the title, the background information, the introduction, all of these parts that go into answering the questions. When you go through all of your questions, you can start changing up how it looks. So one of the things that students like to do is they start looking at ways to make it look pretty. So I'm going to choose, I found one in here earlier that somewhat relates to games and entertainment, so I'm going to choose this one. So that's my theme for now. And that's what it's going to look like when we send it out. If I want to, before I'm done, look at live form, so this is what it would look like when you send the link out. That you can look at how your questions are worded, you can look at progress, you can look at all the different features that you added in to see if it makes sense or if there's anything that you wanted to change. If you look at it and you're like, I don't like that, then you go back to edit this form and it takes you back so that you can answer some of those questions. Don't be afraid to click around. Don't be afraid to reword questions. Don't be afraid to ask somebody to read through to see if they understand your form before you go forward in actually submitting it. So that brings us to the next stage, is actually sharing your form. Once you have your survey in a place that you are confident that it is understandable, comprehensive, that you want to actually share it, that you go to share form. Now you have many different options. Facebook and Twitter, social media, and using those. You can even search students in the school who have their apps address. Picking a student randomly, it should come up if you're using your apps account, because it's connected to all the students in the board who have their apps account. So you can use this, you can send it to them via email. It sends them a link that takes them straight to your survey. Or if you had a different form of social media, or you had email outside of the board that you wanted people to get to, you can simply copy and paste this link, and then that will take them to it. You can shorten the URL, you can do a number of different things, embed it in an email. I typically copy and paste it so that they know exactly what's going on, and they know the link to get there. So you can send that, and then what will happen is I have 0 responses because it's not live. I haven't sent it out. I haven't shared it with anybody. But you can actually view responses as they come in. The other thing that happens with Google Drive is once you have created a Google form, that you can look at your Google spreadsheets as well. And I'm not sure if that was a good search attempt, however. There we go. So when you create a Google form, it automatically creates a spreadsheet of the responses. Now, each question has its own column and timestamp, and so as somebody would go through that, it would fill it out, and this is how you actually can compile your data. So a great opportunity in which to see live form, people filling out your surveys, and that you can use this and have this shared with each other so that you all have the results of your survey. The requirement is that you create a survey and distribute it and get back as many responses as possible. That's what we're aiming for based on the teenager behavior that we were looking at. You created a research question, create the questions, hand out the primary research, and see what the results are.